Maybe not. They might call the police.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility too, especially if there's 20 of us. Okay, so last week, any questions?
It's not a terrorist organisation, is it? So we shouldn't be wearing them.
You never know. Okay, so any questions from last week or anything in the past that we've looked at?
I liked the pretty version.
Yeah, it was a lot nicer than mine, wasn't it? Yeah,
No,
I have to admit that.
Bespoke, hand-drawn, and for the amount of time available, it was good.
Yep. Yeah, you did.
I Googled Father Christmas gets dressed and eat breakfast.
Yep.
And I think you made that up. Not that that's bad, but nobody else seems to know about it.
Well, I learned it from my high school music teacher, so maybe he made it up and that's where it came from, and I've just always used it. It doesn't matter what you use to remember the order. You can use anything you want. There could be heaps of other rhymes out there for it. That's just the one I know.
I also did some Googling on the circle of fifths. You can actually you can derive it without Father Christmas just by saying, well, what's 1/5 above C, and you put that in the first position.
Yes, you can do it that way.
1/5 above G, and you put D in that position,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
Yep.
Peter, I was going to say, I looked at Ian Mulholland's version, and when he was talking about the circle of fifths, the one you've got up there now, this is the graphic he had, and I mistakenly thought that was the circle of fifths.
Well, it sometimes is called the circle of fifths because if you go around the C, it starts at C and then you go up a fifth to G and then up a fifth to D and then up a fifth to A.
Yeah.
But I call it a key circle. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want, and you can use it in different ways. But you know, for our purposes, it's to work out the key that a song is in. If you're doing exams like at uni or school, you need to be able to draw that, because you get into an exam, that's the very first thing you draw on the top of your scratch paper, and you use it many times throughout the exam to quickly work out what key is what. For our purposes, you might just print it out and use it occasionally whenever you need to. So any questions on the circle of fifths? There's probably one extra thing there that I didn't mention to you last week. And you'll notice down the bottom that there are 3 keys that can be either flat or sharp. Okay, so if you're counting around in the major on the outside of the circle, you go C, G, D, A, E, B. So this is sharp keys. The next one is F sharp. The next one is C sharp. If you're counting around in the flat direction, F, B flat, E flat, A flat. The next one is D flat, then G flat, then C flat. Okay, so they kind of overlap, and the same in minor keys. And in barbershop, we do see those keys a lot because of the key changes and things, the weird things that happen in barbershop. So in regular classical music, for example, key signatures with 7 flats are pretty rare, but in barbershop, it's actually quite common to see that. So we may at some point need to know what the key is there. So that's.
Is there only anything other than a technical difference between B major and C flat major?
Sorry? Oh, B major and C flat major. Yes, there's a big difference between the two. So one has 5 sharps and the other has 7 flats.
Right, but the same notes are in the scale.
No, so the B major starts on the B and has 5 sharps. C flat major starts on C flat and has 7 flats. So they're not the same key. They're very different keys.
They use the same notes, but they're saying you start in a different place.
They don't use the same notes at all.
Wow.
So if you were to write out a C flat major scale as an exercise, and then write out a B major scale, and then play them, you will hear that they're very, very different. They're not at all similar. They just happen to be in the same position on this key circle, but they don't really have anything in common as far as the keys themselves. So don't confuse that. They're not really linked in any way. So we have a link, for example, between C major and A minor, being relative major and minor, but the keys down in the bottom section are not related to each other. They just happen to be where they fall on the key circle.
Because there is another circle of fifths with two more slots. Like you have 12 here. There's one with 14.
Maybe there is. I haven't seen it, but there could be. Yeah, I don't know. There could be.
So is there a difference between the bottom? Is there a difference between the not the same notes in G 6 sharps is not the same as 6 flats either?
No, they're very different.
Okay.
So the first sharp is F sharp. The first flat is B flat. So they're very different notes. It's not like it's the same sharp. The sharp or the flats equate to the same note. They don't. They're very different. So, for example.
Sorry, did you just say that F sharp isn't the same as G flat?
F sharp is the same as G flat.
Right. So I was talking about the very two at the bottom. So are those not the same? Were they mute?
No, so they're still not the same. They're different keys and they're not linked. So G flat major and F sharp major. F sharp major has F sharp. G flat major has G flat. So that's technically the same note.
But after that, they're different.
Well, most of the others will be different, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's a B flat and there's an A sharp. So they're the same note technically. So some of them will be the same notes, but the key is very different. So don't try and link those two keys. They're not linked. They're very different keys. Okay, any other questions on the key circle? Okay, all good. So tonight, I would like us to start doing some singing and actually work on sight singing. So we're going to actually start by doing a little bit, and then we'll go back and talk about some of the theory behind how you do it. It'll make more sense if we do it just a little bit first. And I forgot to open the right file. Hang on a minute. Okay, this one will do. Okay, so you should have some blank staves up there now. So let us put some notes in and we're going to sing them. I'd better put a key signature in here or that's not going to make sense. I've got to do that again. Okay. Okay, who's brave? Who would like to have a go at singing that one? No one's brave. So I'm going to sing this one for you. This is easy. Yeah, so this is just a scale passage. So we don't really need to know much about music to sing this one. So a couple of people sang it and they were both right. So singing steps is easy. So we had in there tones and a semitone. Okay, someone sing me the first one.
La, 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 la.
Good. Now someone sing me the second one. Let me get the starting note. So that's the first one, which was correct, Kathy. The second one, what's the difference?
It's 'cause of
Last
natural.
It's natural.
Hmm.
So we have an A natural instead of, in this one, we have an A flat because it's in the key signature.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so what key signature is this, by the way?
E flat major.
Correct, E flat major. And so this is just a half of the E flat major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in E flat major. But in the second one, I've put an A natural. So instead of being it's going to be So the fourth is raised in this case. Okay. So let us do something a little more difficult.
You're doing something more difficult. I'm not sure that already flummoxed us.
Has it flummoxed you already? Oh, hang on, that wasn't the note I intended. Okay, so same notes, just a different order. So who would like to sing this one? So the starting note is correct. That's it. Yes, that's it. Okay, so let's go backwards then and do a little theory if we're getting flummoxed already.
Oh,
So,
I know what it means. It's just you have to pick it off the page and sing it. It's harder.
yeah, and we're just starting this, and this is really where we've been heading along with the learning to read music, so that you can pick up a sheet of music and sing it. So this is the destination, if you like. So you can sight sing by knowing what every note is, and you can say, okay, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat. That's the hard way to sight sing. The easy way to sight sing is by knowing the intervals. So by knowing second or tone, 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 semitone, tone, whatever the intervals are. So in the first two, we had tones or semitones. In the second one, what's the interval between the first note and the third one? What's the interval between the first note and the third note?
Third.
A third. Yeah, correct. Yes. So we've got a third here. So, so we need to know how to sing different intervals. And then this interval here.
Where are we looking?
Third as well.
Correct. It's another third. I've got my mouse going over it. Can you see that? Yeah. So we've got another third. The interval here.
But we don't know which. It's hard to tell which ones you're pointing at.
So we're going between the G and the F.
It's a
That's a
tone.
tone.
Oh.
It's a tone, is correct. Yeah. And then between the A flat and the B flat.
That's another tone.
A tone.
A tone, correct. Okay, so we've got 2/3 and 2 tones. So I'd like everyone to have a go at singing this one. So let's start with Kathy because you're first on my screen.
Sorry, where are we at? I can't see it now.
Oh,
Where was your
The third one. So let me blow it up a bit. That
Starting
might
in the fifth bar.
hang on.
That would be better.
What have I done? Did I just stop sharing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, clicked the wrong thing. Okay. There we go. All right, and now let me move this darn thing out of the way. Good. Okay. Paul Meller, let's have a go.
No, that fourth one was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Verity. Good. Rob. Good. Phil. Not quite there on some of the notes, but I think it's more tuning than you didn't have the right note. Have another go, Phil. Yeah, that's it. Much better. Nigel. Good. Sandy.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, so that's an easy one. So one thing that you'll notice is that a lot of us chose a different key to sing it in. Did that matter?
We're looking at the distance between them, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
So when you sing on intervals, you can change the key. So you can say, oh, let's go up a tone, let's go down a tone, let's do whatever we want to do. And you're still able to sing. You're still able to work out what's where because you're looking at the distance between notes rather than the absolute pitch. So if you learn to sight sing on absolute pitch and your director says, oh, we're going to go down a tone, you're in trouble. So learning on intervals makes your life a lot easier. So let's do another one.
G, B, B flat.
Okay. So let's go.
When we're looking at these, and the thing between the first crotchet and the second crotchet in bar 7 looks like a third, because
It is a third.
it's 2 lines apart. But do
Correct.
we need to ever worry about what's going on with the sharps and the flats, or we can just ignore that?
You do need to worry about what's going on, but if there are none, then it's just in the key. So it's not going to be a problem. So most of the time.
Oh, sorry. I mean no accident. Assuming there's no accidentals, do we need to worry about what's going on with the sharps and the flats?
No, not really. Yeah, so it'll be just in the, you need to know whether it's major or minor because that will affect how you sing it. But generally you're just going to sing it. It's going to be major most of the time anyway, as you know. So you're just going to sing it in a major key. Okay, so we're going to do everything in the same key tonight to make life a little easier. Although people are going to change it to whatever suits their voice, and that's fine too. Okay, so here's the starting note if you want to sing it at pitch. La. So Sandy, you're first off the block this time. I can see your mouth moving, but you're muted, Sandy.
Here we go. I'll try this one.
Good, Nigel. Good. You haven't had the operation, Nigel, so you should not be singing up there. We don't have any tenors here tonight, not the male ones. So. Okay, Phil.
Did I drop an octave or did I drop a fifth or something there?
No, you dropped an octave. That's fine, but it doesn't matter again because we're singing intervals. If you drop any interval. Good, Rob. Good, different key, but still works, doesn't it? Verity. Good, another different key, still works. Paul. Good, Kathy. Yes, okay.
Sounds like somebody was blowing an oboe in the background.
All right, let's do something. Okay, so have a good look at this one. What's the first interval?
A fifth.
Correct, so fifth. So who wants to start? Who wants to do this one first? So whoever just hummed it then was correct.
Robert, Oops. Sorry, Kath.
Sorry, Kathy, you broke up a bit there. Do it again. Good. That's it. Verity. Good. Nigel.
Just copying what the others do, unfortunately.
That's
I
all
know.
right.
Good. Let's do another one.
Fourths now, eh?
So now we have a fourth. Okay, that sounded pretty good. Whoever did that. Let's have someone else do it. How about, was that you, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was correct. Let's have Verity do it.
No, that's the
Not
fifth,
quite.
isn't it?
That's the fifth, yeah. Not quite. So you got the fourth and then you went down a third after that. So the next interval after the fourth is what?
Just a note.
Just a tone. Yeah, correct. Okay, have another go. In fact, it's a semitone, come to think of it, because it's A flat. Yes, correct. Phil, have a go. Not quite. You didn't get the first interval quite right. Try again. So your first interval was a third that time. So we need one more. That's it. Yeah, good. Kathy. Nearly. Your first interval was a third again. Try again. No. Try again.
Was it?
Still a third. Yeah, kind of. And again.
No,
No, that's a third. So
not right.
first interval was good. The second one you went down a third, so it's only a semitone. So try again. Your first interval again was the third that time. No, that's a third. That's a fifth. That's a fifth.
Oh.
So in between those two, that's the
Try
target.
the fourth on its own is hard enough.
Okay, so if you're having difficulty with an interval, how's the easy way to work it out? Verity actually did it.
Do, re, mi, fa, do, whatever.
Yeah, do
Like
it that way.
the
So
old
just
count?
count your way up. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4, 3.
So that went back to 1.
Yeah.
So 1, 4.
1, 4. It's only 3.
No, that was 4.
1.
So your first interval was right, but then you're going down too far on the second one. It's only a semitone. That's back to the third.
Was that the right place?
No, that was the third. That's a third. That's it. No, you're still your first interval was good. Your second interval, you're going down too far, way too far. So it's only a semitone down. So you sing
too
in G flat. Ah, that's what you sing. What we want is ah, only a semitone.
Ah, ah. Still not right.
Don't know what happened there.
No.
Try again.
1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, that's 3.
That's 3. Yeah, good. Go again.
Ah,
Yes, well done. Okay, so this one's a bit harder. Who hasn't done it? Paul Miller?
Yep.
Let's have a go.
Ah.
First interval wasn't a fourth, it was a third. No, still a third. Let's start on this pitch. Ah, start there.
Ah, da, 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 da.
So you counted up 4 and you got the right note, and then when you sang it, you went back to a third.
What a shame.
Try again.
I thought I had it fixed.
Go again. Count up the 4 so you get that in your head.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
That was a third again. So we want ah.
Ah.
It's a third again. All your other notes are the right intervals, but the first one is putting you down a whole tone because you're not getting the fourth. So sing me a fourth. Ah.
Da, da. Ah.
You sing ah. We want ah.
Ah. No,
That's it. No, that was right. Do that again.
didn't feel right. Ah.
I was kind of right. I think tuning got in the way a bit that time. Do it once more.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
That was a third again. La la. We want la la.
La, 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 la.
That's it.
La,
Sandy.
la, 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 la. Sorry.
Your fourth note was a little high.
Okay.
Try again. So your third note this time you went down too far on. It's only semi. So you're going down a third on the third note. So ah is correct. Ah, and then it's only down a semi for the next note. That's it. Good. Has everyone done that one?
Nope.
Yes. Good. Okay. So I'll let you in on a little secret. This is me. One of the hardest intervals to sing is a fourth. It's much easier to sing a fifth than it is to sing a fourth. Well, that's what I find anyway. I don't know if everyone's like that. So the difficult intervals to sing are a fourth because you're never quite sure where to go. Like you sometimes you want to go to a third or a fifth, and the other really difficult interval to sing is a seventh because it's a discord. Okay, we're not going to be doing sevenths tonight. So let's now put in a fifth. Let's not. Okay, what's the big interval there?
Sixth.
Sixth, yeah. So this is actually not a hard interval to sing. Who wants to kick off with this one? There you go. I haven't heard anything that's approaching the right thing at the moment. So let's just try one at a time. I think we're all confusing everybody by singing and we're all on different pitches. So let's go with Verity.
Da 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 da
And one more note.
da 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 da.
Yes, that's it. Correct. Okay, Paul.
Da 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 da.
Yeah, Rob.
Da 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 da.
Yeah, Sandy. Nigel. Not quite. The third note wasn't right. Try again. So on the third note, you're going down, but it's actually up. It's a third above, isn't it? What are the first three notes, by the way? That's it. Good. What are the first three notes?
E, G, B.
Every good and boy.
Yeah, but what is that? What is E? It's an E
That's a
flat,
major
G, B
chord.
flat. It's an E
One,
flat
three.
major chord. Da da da. Yeah, and this is common in music, especially in a lead part. You'll see that kind of thing. And what note of the chord is this? The fourth note, the D. So we're in E flat
That's
major.
the seventh. That's the seventh.
It's the seventh. Yeah.
To the starting note.
Correct. Okay. And so you notice the seventh, the D goes back to E flat, and you'll find almost always that will happen. So if it's a good arrangement, the seventh should always rise to the tonic, or the one, the first note of the chord. Some barbershop arrangers ignore that, and it makes the arrangement sound really weird. Sometimes you sort of hear and think, oh, that's not so good, and often the reason why is because they haven't followed that rule. So a couple of rules that barbershop arrangers sometimes choose to ignore is that one, and the other one they choose to ignore is consecutive fifths. When you sing in consecutive fifths, it doesn't sound pleasing to our ear. Consecutive fifths means one fifth after another fifth after another fifth, and that's kind of an Asian Chinesey type sound. You know, bum, 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 and that would have fifths going. And that typically is not a sound that we like to hear. So that's two things you'll notice in barbershop music that Mozart would have probably driven a stake through the arranger's heart for. So other than that, most arrangers do pretty well. Okay, so you'll notice that we're not having difficulty generally singing the sixth, even though it's a big interval, but it's just an easy interval for some reason. It just fits in, it works in our head. That's an easy interval. Okay, let's try something else. Okay, this is a bit naughty because it's one note different from the last one. Let's see how we go. What's the big interval there?
Fourth.
Is it?
Oh, sorry, no, it's a fifth.
The fifth, yeah. So what's a really easy way to look at a sheet of music without even working out what note's what, to know whether it's a fifth or a fourth?
Count the number of lines and spaces.
Yeah, but without doing that, we want to be quicker than that when we're sight reading. We don't have time to go counting. So what's a really quick way to know? Anyone know? So fifth.
Well, it's going to be the opposite. So if one is odd, the other is even, kind of thing, in terms of if one's on the space and the others, well, sorry, on the fifth, they will be on the same. So they'll both be spaces or both be lines.
Three
Correct.
things between, be they lines or spaces.
Yeah, so a fifth and a third will always be either in lines or spaces. A fourth will be one note's on a line, one note's in a space. A sixth will be the same, one note's on a line, one note's in a space. So it's just you can look at an interval and you can say that's about a fifth or a sixth, and so then you can quickly see whether we're lines or spaces, and you can tell just like that without even thinking about too much that it's a sixth or a fifth. So you can tell roughly whether it's a fourth or a third. Same thing applies. You just look at whether they're on lines or spaces, and that tells you.
So basically, I'm getting the idea from you, Peter, that when you sight read, you just basically, you're not going, oh, that's a B, that's an A. You're just going, that's a, look at the difference, the distance between the two notes.
Correct. Yeah, that's the easy way to sight read. Yeah, so you're sight reading on intervals rather than on absolute notes. You don't really care what the actual notes are. So as long as you get your pitch, you know what note to start on, then from there on, it's intervals for the rest of the song. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at this one in bar, whatever it is, 16. Sandy, can you kick off with this one for us, please? Okay, so that was the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was a bit
Yeah,
naughty
sorry.
here. I changed
Okay.
one note. So let's have another go at that one. Yes, that's it. Good. Okay, Nigel.
Got no chance. Let's pick a starting note.
No, so there's your E flat.
I'm guessing.
That's pretty
Okay,
close. Have another go.
Well, let's take it one at a time.
Yep.
My starting note was what you said, E flat. Is that the first? Is that right for the first note?
So what's the interval between the first note and the second note?
One tone, but
Yeah, so what you sang there was a third. You sang ah, so sing me a tone. Whoever's humming, can you please stop? Because that puts us off.
me on my keyboard. Is that right for the first interval?
Correct. Correct.
And this is just.
Didn't quite go low enough on that.
Looking at, I mean, it's a waste of time because I'm just stabbing randomly at pitches.
Okay. Let's go to Kathy. So that again was the last one
Oh,
in bar 14. So we've got one note changed just to make life difficult. Try again. So it's the second note that's different. Yes. So the third note was not quite tuned. So have another try. It was the right note, but just wasn't tuned well. Yes, good job. Paul. No, first two notes were good.
Yeah.
And then the third note, we lost it. Try again. You can take it as slow as you like. No. So you're going up, that's tones each time. So that what's the second interval?
Third.
It's a third, yeah. That's a tone again. So if the first one is good, then the second one you're going up a tone. Sing me the next note. That's it. That's your third. So do it yourself now. Okay, so your first three notes are good, but now the fourth note, you're not going low enough. So it's down a fifth. So you're going down a third instead of down a fifth.
All right. I'm trying to put it down. It doesn't matter.
You can count your way down. You can go, ah, and count your way down to get your fifth.
Oh. Oh.
So your third note wasn't quite there that time, and the fourth note still is too high,
Right.
quite a bit too high. Okay,
Well,
let's
I'll mute and I'll work.
yeah, let's work on something a little different now for a minute. So I'm going to sing you some intervals, and I want you to hold up a number of fingers to tell me whether it's a fourth or a fifth or a third or a second or whatever you hear. Okay. So here's the first one. Ah. So correct, it's a third. Ah. Okay. This one. Ah. It's a fifth. Yeah, Nigel, I'm not seeing any hands held up there. I think he's in suspended animation. Let's try this one.
Seventh.
Yeah, seventh. So that's a discordant one.
I don't have any fingers to hold up, so I'll have to shout out.
Okay, all good. Let's try this one. So we've got some dissension in the ranks. Listen to it again.
Yeah, it would be four.
Yeah, the fours have it. It's a fourth, that one. Okay, let's do
Or tone.
is a tone or a second, yeah? Is a tone or a second. Okay, let's do some downwards intervals because we haven't worked on those that much.
Harder, I think.
It is harder to go down, yeah.
Five.
Third.
We got 3, 4, and 5. Someone's got to be wrong. So count it down in your head.
Do it again then.
So it's a third. So just sing the scale down in your head initially. You need to have all these intervals in your head to be able to sight sing. So, okay, let's do another one.
I think that's a fifth.
Probably five, is it? It was a four.
It's a fourth. Okay. Well, we're getting a bit low for my poor old voice. Hang on, let's go to another one.
Again, please, it cut out.
Sing the scale down in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a downwards fifth, which is a lot harder than an upwards fifth. Okay, so one way, an easier way to learn intervals is to look at some songs that start with that interval. So a well-known song. So let's take a fifth, for example. Does anyone know the #1 song that starts with a fifth that everybody seems to know? It's the last post.
Oh, okay.
That's the fifth. Okay, so if you're struggling to find a fifth, just have the last verse in your mind. A fourth,
Free.
Born Free, yes. That's a good one if you know it. I'm not really familiar with that song, but I hear a lot of people saying. Sing me Born Free, the first bit.
Born free as the wind blows.
Oh, okay, I do know it after all. There you go. So that's a downward fourth. Yeah, born free. That's a downward fourth, so that's good. What's an upward fourth? I should bring up my internet here and look it up.
How about how much is that doggy?
How much? Yes. How much is that doggy in the window? Okay, so we probably don't need to worry too much about a second, because usually it's pretty easy to just work out a second. It's just, you know, just the next note up. So we don't usually need to worry about a song for that one. And often a third is easy enough as well. What's a song that starts with a third? Can't think of one off the top of my head. But often we don't need to think about those too much, because usually after you've done it a bit, you can pick a second and a third really easily. Some bigger intervals.
Before we leave that, would it be Greensleeves?
Yes, but that's a minor third.
Oh, right.
Okay, so in a minor key, yes, you'd use Greensleeves. So, so that's a minor sound.
Okay.
So yes, that will work when you're singing in a minor key.
Which one is the Flintstones?
When the saints.
So that's seconds. When the saints, or when, oh no, that's a third. Or when the saint, or when is a third. So when the saints is an upward third. That's a good one. So what did you ask about? Sorry, Kathy.
Flintstones. What's Flintstones?
It's the fifth down.
Flintstones.
It's the fifth. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fifth down. Yeah.
It is. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
That one's up.
Okay. Sixth. I'm trying to think what starts with a sixth. The Entertainer has a sixth in it. Da, 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 da. It's not actually the start of the song, but that bit that everybody knows. Da, 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 is a sixth, backwards and forwards.
Recognize that.
What about a seventh? That's going to be hard. I don't know how many songs have that start with a seventh, and I don't know that
That one from West Side Story. There's a place for us.
Somewhere.
There's a place for us.
That's a good one. Yeah, well done, Sandy. That's a seventh. There's your seventh. Octave is easy. Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow. And that's all the intervals that you're likely to need. You know, occasionally you need a bigger one, but that's the exception. And usually when you have that, you need to sit down and work it out anyway.
I'm sorry, Pete, what was the seventh?
Somewhere from West Side Story. That's your seventh interval. So that's all intervals going up, or mostly intervals going up. So look, during this week, I'll go through and find good examples for intervals going up and down. I meant to do it this week and it just went right out of my head. So I'm actually going to write myself a little reminder now so I don't forget.
Did you say that Somewhere Over the Rainbow was a seven?
Octave.
Octave.
Yes.
Somewhere. No, it's an octave. Yep.
So Paul's question was what was the 7th and what was the answer?
There's a place.
There's a place for us. That's your 7th. So it's called Somewhere, I think, from West Side Story.
Okay, that's the confusion because it's not somewhere over the rainbow. Even though
Yeah,
it's
it's a different Somewhere. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's the confusion.
Yeah. Okay, so we're looking like about time's up. Any questions about anything we've discussed so far?
You've done a fantastic job, Peter, to get us this far, I tell you.
So I know some of you are feeling like this is really hard and you're not getting it. This is the first time you've tried to do this probably. So don't be discouraged. We're going to keep working on it. And by the time we're finished, you will be able to sight sing. That's what we're here for. So a useful thing to do if you've got a piano in the house or even a piano that you download on your phone is just play an interval. So that's a third. Just play that interval and then go around the house singing that interval for the next 5 minutes. Your husband or wife will love it, and it will just set that interval in your head.
And for the less talented amongst us, we can do that just on the white notes, can't we? Because as you pointed out, the intervals are easier. They work regardless of what key you're in.
Correct. Yeah.
So you just do that on the white notes.
Yes. For now, white notes is all you need to worry about. So what key would we be in if we're singing in the white notes?
Well, I'd be in C.
E major.
Yeah, we'd be in C major. So a good note to start on would be C. So at least you're singing in the key that your interval is going to be in. So don't start on a G or whatever, because then it will make a different key. So start on C and then play white notes, and that will give you your intervals. So just pick 1 or 2 intervals maybe for this week. Don't try and do them all, and just become really comfortable at singing that interval, and then work out that interval in different keys. So start using the black notes. Okay, so work out the key. So let's say you're going to do it in E flat major. What's the key signature?
Three flats.
Yeah, 3 flats.
3 flats. Okay, so B flat, E flat, A flat. And so if you're going to play the interval, make sure you include, if it includes one of those notes, make sure you include the flat. So we don't want to be doing intervals outside of a normal major scale at this point. We'll get to doing weird intervals later, but right now, make life easy on yourself and make sure you work out the key and do the intervals in the key of the major scale. Don't do minor intervals at this point. So don't worry about minor scales, just major scales. And that will make your life a whole lot easier to begin with. So that's probably the best.
There's only a few songs you won't be able to sing.
That's right, yeah. So, and it's not that hard to go from major to minor. What's the big difference between major and minor?
I think you said the 3rd is lower or something.
The 3rd is lower. So instead of, C major, no sharps or flats, A minor, no sharps or flats, but the 3rd in A minor is going to be C, which is going to give you a minor 3rd, whereas the 3rd in C major is going to be E, which is going to give you a major 3rd. You probably don't need to know that. Don't worry about what I just said. I can see some eyes glazing over there. Don't worry about that. Just worry about major keys. So have your key circle handy. Whatever note you play, let's say you're going to play a C, make sure that you know what key a C major is so that you play the right note for a major chord. If you're going to play a G, make sure you know the key signature for G major so you play the right note for whatever interval you're going to do. That's all you need to worry about. Let's not overcomplicate at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else for tonight? Any other questions?
Thank you. It was fun.
Good. Okay. All right. See you all next week.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Peter.
Bye now.
Peter, thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you very much.